afternoon, and welcome to AIADA's AutoTalk. I'm your host, Rachel Soleimani. Before we get started, a few quick reminders as always. Anyone that is registered for today's program will be receiving a copy by the end of next week. And if you have any questions, feel free to enter them into the lower right side of your interface under the Q&A bar. Now, please join me in welcoming Angela Drake, Senior Research Manager at Cox Automotive. Angela, I know you have some really interesting findings to share with us from your 2022 digital influence study, so I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you, Rachel. And hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Over the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'll share with you insights from a recent Cox Automotive study that can help inform how your dealership connects with customers over digital channels. In an era when more of the car buying journey is moving online, a well-executed digital marketing strategy can certainly make or break your organization's success. My goal is for you to walk away from today's webinar with a better understanding of how consumers behave at each stage of the buying journey and how you can influence those behaviors along the way. It's undeniable that the last 2 years have been a whirlwind. And I'm sure many of you reevaluated your marketing strategy at some point as a result of the pandemic and the chip shortage. According to NADA, there was an uptick in advertising spend among franchise dealers in 2021, and that's after spend plummeted in 2020. However, spend still remains lower than pre-pandemic levels. Among local media, the pain was felt mainly by radio and television, both of which are key beneficiaries of co-op programs, which all quickly dried up in 2021. Notably, advertising dollars were spent more efficiently. In fact, NADA tells us that the average advertising expenditure per new vehicle sold dropped from $640 in 2020 to now $541 in 2021. So with dealers like yourselves getting better results at a lower cost, you can certainly see why you all face a conundrum as we begin 2022. The question is, how much advertising spend is really necessary when vehicles sell themselves within days of becoming available? Most likely everyone on this call falls into one of two schools of thought when asked about how dealerships should approach advertising in a time of low inventory. The first group will pull back on spending while they have few cars to sell, and the second group will maintain and in some cases even increase spend to stay top of mind with consumers until vehicle supply normalizes. Unfortunately, the fact is that dealers who are waiting for normal supply levels to return could be waiting a while. In a recent study, 85% of dealers told us that they don't expect to return to pre-pandemic inventory levels in 2022. And dealers are right in expecting not to return to pre-pandemic levels so quickly. In fact, I wouldn't bet on that before 2024 at the earliest, if it happens at all. The good news is that we do expect supply constraints to ease gradually in the second half of this year. Our latest Dealer Sentiment Index study conducted in Q1 already shows early signs of recovery in new vehicle inventory levels as the index increases to 25 from an all-time low in 2021 of 13, and that's on a 100-point scale where 0 is declining and 100 is growing. Now, rising inventory levels certainly give dealers a reason to advertise more. But the fact is that dealers have other reasons to advertise. Whether you want to communicate to consumers about your online buying experience or run a campaign to acquire more consumer vehicles. For this reason, Burrell is forecasting that automotive dealer advertising spend will grow by nearly 9% this year and will continue to grow over the next few years. Not surprisingly, digital media will see more growth than traditional media. The digital formats forecasted to grow the fastest include streaming audio, such as podcasts, streaming video, otherwise known as over-the-top, targeted banners, email, and listings. With the complexity of the digital landscape and its increasing fragmentation, there's no shortage of options for dealers who want to connect with potential buyers. So for that reason, we recently partnered with GfK on our new digital influence study. We initially conducted this research back in 2019, but with so much change over the last few years, we felt it was time to revisit it. More than 1,000 new vehicle buyers and shoppers answered questions about their car buying journey, their usage of digital sources throughout that journey, and which of these sources had the greatest impact on their purchase decision. To qualify for the study, shoppers must have been planning to purchase within the next 6 months, and buyers must have purchased in the past 6 months. Of course, all respondents use the internet during the shopping process. To start, we wanted to understand to what degree can new vehicle buyers be influenced during the shopping process. Do new vehicle buyers typically enter the process knowing what they want and stick with that? Maybe not. According to our data, there is great opportunity to influence new vehicle buyers. 3 in 4 of those we surveyed ultimately purchased a vehicle that was not the one they had originally considered, and this is up from 64% in 2019. So naturally, you probably want to know what content and what sources these buyers engaged with that drove them to switch their consideration. So let's dive in. The first step to creating an effective digital marketing strategy is to understand the consumer journey, which consists of 4 stages. During Explore, consumers are becoming aware of brands and vehicles available in the market, and they have just started to think about their next vehicle purchase. Consumers in the Consider stage are actively building their consideration set. Once consumers move into Select, they start to really hone in on the brands of vehicles that best meet their needs, and this is when they start to first visit dealerships. And then the 4th final phase is the buy phase, and this is when consumers are actively engaging in negotiations with dealerships. Not surprisingly, the events of the last 2 years have really changed this journey significantly. For example, in 2021, new vehicle buyers were transacting faster than we've ever seen them do before. With days in market dropping from an average of 100 days in 2019 to 95 days in 2020, now to an all-time low of 83 days in 2021. Some consumers told us they felt the need to purchase sooner because they feared that they would miss out if they passed on a vehicle they were able to procure. About a third of the consumers cited that they purchased sooner because they simply found attractive offers or appealing trade-in offers. This is likely the reason why we see this drop in time buyers are spending in the Explore and Consider stages, which now account for 67% of the journey, and that's down from 74% in 2019. So this is an important note for marketers, as those first 2 stages of the journey are typically the ones that offer the greatest opportunity for influence over the vehicle purchase decision. Now, there are certain shopping activities which are hallmarks of each stage of the journey. On this slide, I've listed the top activities for each stage. From the very beginning in the Explore stage, shoppers are doing a slew of research, which includes browsing images, comparing vehicles and brands, looking at vehicle specs, options, features, and pricing, as well as reading expert and consumer reviews, and that's just to name a few. In the Consider stage, shoppers continue their research by conducting more comparison shopping at a model level, and they're even leveraging those build and price tools on OEM sites. Once shoppers move into the Select stage, they start to search through vehicle listings and think about the deal. How much can they get for their current vehicle, and what's their monthly payment going to be? By the way, these deal-related tasks I just mentioned have moved upstream in the process, as they were historically completed in the buy stage. Finally, once in the buy stage, tasks completed by shoppers include locating a dealer, receiving price quotes, test driving, negotiating, and of course, finally signing the contract. While these buyers complete many activities on this journey to their new vehicle, they do typically focus on 5 key activities. And so these activities are, number 1, browsing vehicle images. Number 2, they research pricing. The third is comparing vehicles and brands. The fourth activity is finding information on vehicles such as specs, options, and features. And then finally, the fifth one that they focus on the most is searching vehicle listings. Not surprisingly, the top source new vehicle buyers turn to for completing these activities is the internet. New vehicle buyers spend more time online than with any other source. However, the time that they're spending online is shrinking. In 2019, new vehicle buyers spent an average of 6 hours and 44 minutes online. In 2021, that dropped to 5 hours and 22 minutes. So as a result, you as marketers have less time than ever before to make an impression on a buyer. Now, when shopping, new vehicle buyers use multiple online sources. According to our research in 2021, buyers visited an average of nearly 4 websites. Among these sources, third-party websites remain that top site destination for buyers. In fact, 7 in 10 buyers relied on third-party websites to support them in their purchase process. Dealer sites have the second highest reach among these buyers at 50%, and that's followed by OEM sites at 39%. But new vehicle buyers don't just limit their research and shopping activities to automotive websites. So we also measure search and social as well in our study. As you can see, the usage of search is at 35%, which just trails out of OEM sites. Buyers also use social in their journey, but to a much lesser degree than what we see with the other 4 website categories. With buyers using multiple websites, we wanted to better understand what role consumers think each of these websites play in the journey and why they visit them. So on the table you're looking at now, I have listed the key shopping and buying activities consumers are most likely to do on each type of website. Activities that fall under more than one website category are highlighted in gray. For example, search shares some of its top activities with other websites. Now focus just on the first 3 columns of our table, where I've listed top activities for third-party OEM and dealer websites. Now, as you can see, there is no overlap here, which means consumers are visiting each of these sites for different reasons. For example, new vehicle buyers are visiting OEM sites to find information on specific vehicles and incentives. They're going to browse images and use the build and price tools. These are activities buyers engage in during the explore and consider stages of their shopping process. Now, on the other hand, dealer sites are used for activities typically completed during the buy stage, such as scheduling a test drive, requesting a price quote, applying for financing, and negotiating. So I imagine that this is what you would expect to see, right? Moving on to third-party sites. These are a unique resource in that buyers use them for activities that span across stages of the shopping process. While many use these websites for activities such as evaluating your current vehicle or determining how to get rid of your current vehicle, buyers also leverage them for activities conducted during the explore stage, such as reading articles and reviews and researching pricing. Many of you know that AutoTrader and Kelley Blue Book are part of Cox Automotive, and we have found that half of the visitors to these sites are 6 months or more out from purchasing. In fact, 42% of our visitors fall into this explore stage when they're most open to being influenced. Finally, with usage of social in the shopping process being lower than other websites, it's not surprising to see that buyers don't rely on social creation sites such as TikTok or Instagram or social sharing sites such as Facebook or Twitter to complete any of these activities. However, YouTube is used for watching video reviews and finding out about new vehicle launches and redesigns. Now, in addition to playing unique roles in the shopping process, consumers also perceive some automotive websites as providing them with unique benefits. For example, OEM sites are viewed as having the most detailed, accurate, and comprehensive information, while third-party sites are well-positioned as the most knowledgeable, trustworthy, reliable, and unbiased information source. In fact, third-party sites are the most trusted source among new vehicle buyers for having the exact vehicle they want and the most accurate pricing information. It's important to note that buyers didn't associate dealer sites with any benefits. And this is actually a change from the 2019 study when we saw dealer sites being viewed as providing the most accurate information. On our final two slides, we look specifically at the influence of advertising on new vehicle buyers during the shopping process. As you can see on this slide, more than 1 in 3 buyers viewed automotive advertisements as helpful to them in their decision-making. And this is up significantly from 15% in 2019. That's a huge jump. And when we look at the data by shopping stage, we see that the influence of ads is growing across the board. Not only did buyers find them more helpful, but buyers were also more likely this year to conduct additional research after seeing an ad. In fact, half of shoppers in the explore and consider stages that recall seeing an advertisement took action as a result of that advertisement. And even in the select and buy stages, advertisements had an impact on consumer shopping behaviors. Now, out of all of the data that I've shared with you today, the information on this slide is the one that surprised me the most. But it just shows how effective automotive marketers are at breaking through all of the clutter. As we wrap, I'd like to leave you with a few closing thoughts. First, it may seem counterintuitive to market during a time when inventory is low and demand is high. However, by continuing to engage with customers, you can keep your dealership top of mind and well-positioned for when inventory levels start to normalize. Plus, there's a lot more to market than just your new vehicle inventory, so consider other types of messaging. Number 2, now is the time to move beyond a tier-based approach to your digital strategy. Consumers are engaging with multiple sites during their journey, and each one of these sites plays a key role in the decision-making process. Dealers and OEMs need to partner together in creating a seamless, connected experience that offers consumers the right messaging at the right time in their journey at the right place. Number 3, third-party sites have a unique competitive advantage because buyers leverage them throughout their journey and view them as trustworthy and unbiased sources. For that reason, they are a key component to a successful digital strategy. Their versatility and valuable tools can help you effectively guide and empower your customers through the shopping process. And number 4, finally, it is more important now than ever before to keep your dealership website up to date. This can be an arduous task given how much things change on a daily basis and sometimes even on an hourly basis. But keep in mind that buyers find your dealership website particularly important during the buy stage of the process. So make sure your inventory is fresh, provide tools that help them transact online, and last but not least, don't distract with too many calls to action on your website. Make it clear to them what you want them to do next. So I want to thank you for your time again. That's all that I have for today. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer those now. And I think those can go into the chat if you have any questions.
Angela, thanks so much for speaking with us today. Again, if anyone has any questions, you can pass them along to me, and I will pass them along to Angela. You will all be receiving a copy of this webinar by early next week. To those on the line, join us back here next Tuesday, April 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern as our used car guys return to give some best practices to address the current used car sourcing challenges. Be on the lookout for promotions on how to register. For more information about AIADA, visit AIADA.org. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and have a great day.